It's day 23 into the 2026 FIFA World Cup and interesting developments so far. Big nations like Germany, Holland, Croatia have all seen the exit door. Likewise, big African giants like Senegal, Ivory Coast, and DR Congo have also seen the exit door. In here today is my brother Khalid to discuss the interesting development that has happened over the weeks in the knockout phase of the competition. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you in the studios today and to take on the guest seat.
Okay. I think over the past week, we've had the knockout phase, rollouts. You have US, Mexico, Canada all playing and qualifying to the round of 16, put up, important performances for their respective countries. But unfortunately for some of the teams that we know them to be favorites, like Germany, Holland, and Croatia, unfortunately, haven't been able to make it to the round of 16. Based on how we see these countries and how they've performed over the years, what do you think was the problem to these nations and might have affected their performances and the results they put up?
Thank you very much for the question. I would like to begin by sending my utmost congratulations to the host nations, the USA, Mexico, and Canada. I think they've put up very good performance, and it's no surprise to me to see all teams make it to the round of 16, which I think is commendable. On the part of some of these big teams crashing out of the competition, including Germany and Netherlands, I would attribute that to complacency. They felt that they were much better than their opponent. They didn't respect their opponent very much, and that is what caused their failure. Citing Germany as an example, I watched that game against Paraguay, and I think Germany had everything that it takes to win a game, especially when you are playing in the World Cup, where everybody is expecting and looking forward to see you put your best performance out there. And to me, I think it was rather a surprising performance on the part of Germany because you cannot play that kind of sloppy football. You are not playing the group stage. It's a round 32 game. If you lose the match, you are going home. What does this imply? You have to put in all your effort, make sure that you maximize your chances, take all your chances, play with utmost confidence, and win the game for your nation. And this is what Germany failed to do, which ultimately led them to their exit from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Same thing with
Netherlands.
The Netherlands. Yes, they started very good. They were able to control the game. But then once again, it was very poor from them. Of course, when you are playing against undoubtedly the best team in Africa right now, Morocco, you should be aware. You should be aware of the team that you are playing against, what they are capable of, what they've done to other people in the same competition a couple of years ago. And they've still got it. If you look at the quality that Morocco has, you should be worried. You should be very careful when you are playing against such team. And I think Netherlands did not respect Morocco that much. They did not expect that Morocco will be able to play that kind of, brave football. Because over the years, we've seen African teams when they come into the, World Cup, they try to defend, they try to respect their opponent, allow them to have, possession of the ball. And this time around, Morocco played a different game, which led to, Netherlands' loss. Croatia, on the other hand side, big ups to the Croatian national team. They played fantastic football. I think that the first half was not up to standard. They struggled a bit because when you are playing against Portugal, of course, you are playing against undoubtedly the three best midfielders in the world right now, Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, and Yair Neves. I will come to that later. But I think that Croatia, in the first half, they did not perform. But coming into the second half, they came with a different mentality. They realized that they could go toe-to-toe with the Portuguese, and they were able to do that, which led them to score the first goal. Now, unfortunately, this is where, I will attribute the success of Portuguese win yesterday to their coach.
Roberto Martinez.
Yes. He read the game. He understood that the Croatian national team head coach had a game plan for his players. It was not working out for him.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes, as if he has never kicked a ball before. You could see him. And yes, he may not have had his best day yesterday, but of course, when you are playing against Croatia, it means they also have a game plan for him, which ultimately led to him being, taken out of the game. And again, Portugal's head coach Martinez, he did fantastic thing yesterday. He read the game carefully. He understood that his side was struggling, and he surprisingly took off Bruno Fernandes. He took Bruno Fernandes and Vitinha when they were go down, and nobody in their right senses would have thought that the coach would do this.
So coming on the issue of coaches playing a critical role in this tournaments. I think when you look at the Brazil game, when you look at the Belgium game, coaches also played excellent role in they winning. You realize in the second half there was a complete change in the way Brazil was playing the football, and you could realize that there was a mastermind behind how they were playing. Also with the Belgium side as well, you had the coach taking off Doku and De Bruyne. In the 56th minute. So like you are saying with Roberto Martinez, the kind of tactics or the kind of decisions you make as a coach really has an impact on the outcome.
And I think at this stage of the competition, what really wins you a game is not just the players that you have on the field of play. It's also about the coach's contribution. We've seen the Ghanaian coach Carlos do same against England, which worked for him. And yesterday, Roberto Martinez, or whatever his name is, Martinez, he did a fantastic job yesterday. He read the game. He realized that he had to take off Bruno Fernandes and Vitinha, and I was questioning that substitution.
But we the fans, that's how we are.
Strange enough, it turned out to work in his favor, which was really fantastic yesterday. And again, Cristiano Ronaldo, he was also taken off because, again, the coach realized that when he took Bruno and Vitinha off and he brought Gonzalo Ramos, the midfield was broken. So it was easy for the Croatian team to penetrate easily. So what did he do? He read the game, understood. When he is tying with Croatia, he need goals. He still went ahead and took off Cristiano Ronaldo and brought in somebody to support, the midfield, which then
strengthened,
stabilized the midfield, and they were able to go ahead and win the game 2-1. I think Croatia were a little bit unlucky because they had they had a last-minute equalizer, which was ruled out for offside. Very controversial, but I think the rules are very clear. So when you watch the incident, you try to analyze it, and then you compare and contrast it against the rules of the game. Then you realize that indeed that should have been, cancelled. The last minute goal.
And it was cancelled.
It was cancelled. So it's a bit unfortunate for the Croatian national team that they've crashed out, because we've seen what they've done in
over the years.
Competitions, and yesterday was no exception. They played till the last minute. Luka Modric at his age was still, on top of the game, which I think they were very, very fantastic.
I think, there has been interesting developments, like you mentioned. And I'm coming back to the point of, coaches playing a critical role, in whether a team would succeed. Like you mentioned, the 11 players on the field cannot deliver,
Each team has 11 players.
Yes.
So then, when
there should
you
be a mastermind behind.
Exactly. And that is what wins you games.
A game, So I think, the nations who are yet to play, I'm sure their coaches should be able to bring in tactics that are going to help win games and put their nations on top. So let's move from the
big boys disappointment.
The big boys disappointment, and let's come to the African continent. I think so far we've had an interesting, tournament. We had 9 teams
out of 10,
going into the knockout phase, which was quite impressive. But it is unfortunate that they are falling bit by bit. Now we have 4 out. Algeria is out. Ivory Coast, Senegal, DR Congo is also out. Ghana plays tonight, and Egypt as well. So it is, and Cape Verde as well. It is quite unfortunate. When you watch the game with Senegal, DR Congo, and Algeria and Ivory Coast, what in your understanding do you think led to this massive downfall or them being exited from the tournament?
Well, I think it's been a little bit of overhype. Many people may not agree with me, but let's take it from this. I've heard a lot of people claim that 9 out of 10 teams have been able to make it out of group stage. But let's not forget that this time around, the number of teams had been expanded. We had more teams participating this time around, which means that obviously, yes, there is more room for most of the teams to also make it out of the group stage. Now, how many of these teams were able to make it in the top two from each of their groups? Not many. Most of them finished third place, which earned them an automatic place in the round 32 games. So I don't think it has been particularly any exceptional performance from them this time around. And I have rather been a little bit disappointed in teams like Ivory Coast and Senegal because together with Morocco, they are obviously, the
big boys on the
players,
continent.
On the continent. So back to your question, what led to their downfall? And I think it's lack of braveness. When you go into a game and you respect your opponent too much, you are giving him nothing but the audacity to bully you. And this is what we've seen so far. Look at the game between England and DR Congo. DR Congo played an exceptional game. They scored a goal. And what did they do? They decided to drop back and defend the goal. When you have more than 30 minutes to end the game. And if you do this on the big stage, there is always going to be a way for your opponent to punish you, which is something that England did. And with the kind of experience that they have, with the kind of coach that they have, who can read the game, understand the dynamics of the game, and make his changes accordingly, you stand nothing but to be punished when you decide to take that route.
Thank you for talking about the kind of coach they have and the kind of players they have. I was arriving at that point that don't you also think that yes, the African teams, they start playing well in the first half. Both, DR Congo, Ivory Coast, and, Senegal, they played well. But getting to the latter part of the game, you realize they are out of energy. Then you look on the other side, the teams they are playing against, Belgium, Norway, and England. They have an equally good squad depth. Don't you think that is also playing a role? Because if I'm an African team, and I'm starting my best 11, and England is also starting his best 11. There's equally another best 11 on England's bench as compared to mine.
In fact, they may even have a best third team compared to your bench. Yes, that is true. I agree, but only to some extent. Now, when you take a team like DR Congo, it is understandable that they do not have the depth of squad to face England toe-to-toe. For that, I agree. But now, let's look at a team like Senegal. Senegal has got the squad. The bench wasn't that inferior to that of their opponent, Belgium. They were able to hold onto the lead up until the 85th minute. And how do you blow away two goals at 85th minute? That is something that I will attribute to, again, the brilliance of your opponent coach. Because like I said, they were already 2-0. What did the Belgian coach do? He understood that he had to do some sort of changes. The Senegalese coach had a game plan for Belgium, the kind of players that, he brought onto the field. He took off De Bruyne, and he took off Doku. Yes, he brought on Doku. And he took him off. He took him off. He took two of his best players on the field off, and then he brought on other players. So this is what I call the brilliance of the coach, because he understands the game. Yes, they may not have the players to compete with the big boys, like I said. But in the case of Senegal, I think that they had the players. Also, Ivory Coast. When you compare and contrast Ivory Coast against Norway, I don't think Norway in any way was or had a much better squad compared to Ivory Coast.
Probably for them, they can have the same
the same strength. So what actually caused their downfall was not just about the lack of players or lack of experience. It was simply lack of braveness.
Confidence.
Now look at Morocco, the way Morocco plays. They do not come into the game respecting their opponents. But look at the game against Brazil.
But when you watch the African teams play, I didn't see the fear in them. especially in the first half, DR Congo was playing toe-to-toe with England.
Yes.
I was really surprised the way they were able to pass the ball as if,
nothing was happening.
Yeah, was happening.
That is true. But then they do not play in that manner up until the 90th minute.
Yeah, so
and that is why I say the braveness and fear.
Yeah.
Because they allow fear to take over after a certain point.
I don't see it as fear. I see it as the opponent having a better squad depth than you. Because if it is fear, they wouldn't even come in to play with you for the first time and get a chance to score you. But when the game is getting, because playing 90 minutes, yes, I know they are professionals, but playing 90 minutes is not easy.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, if you have an equally good squad that is going to replace those who are tired, they'll take you out.
That is true.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do not, when you cite DR Congo as an example, I will agree that maybe the squad that they did not have to back up the 11 players may have been a reason why they crash out. But then equally, you look at Senegal and you see similar thing happening.
Yeah.
They were not afraid. They came in, toe-to-toe against Belgium because we all watched the game and we saw that. In fact, Senegal was the better side on the day.
Side, yeah.
But then, 85th minute, you decide to defend. Well, I agree because you have a two-goal lead. You want to defend. You have 5 minutes to go plus added time. And then, what does Senegal do? You concede 1 goal, and then you allow fear to take over because you could see that the players were panicking.
Lack of mentality.
They don't have that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
That our opponents are not, any better than we are. And this is what hurts them. Yeah. And that's why I always keep coming back to Morocco. Because if you look at Morocco comes into the game not as an inferior opponent. They come toe-to-toe with their opponent. They play the game, and that is what they did against Brazil, which worked for them. They did the same thing against the Netherlands, which took them to penalties. When it comes to penalties...
it's anybody's game.
You understand, there's no formula. Whoever is like you on the day carries the day, which is something that happened. Yeah. And so I would say that this must be a lesson to the teams, including Egypt, Ghana, and Cape Verde, who are yet to play their matches. Yeah. Not to focus too much on who they are playing against,
of course.
But on the dynamics, they should focus on the football. They should know that, well, we are doing this till the 90th minute. Ghana did it against England, 0-0. So, and then I expect the African teams that I've mentioned to take note of this going into their, round 32 games. Yeah.
So, you mentioned, it's very disappointing for, those who have exited, the African, teams. We expected much from them, but it didn't happen. So boiling it down to today, and I think to tomorrow, depending on where you are, most of the games in the round 32 is going to be completed, and you have African teams like we are talking about, playing. You have Ghana playing, Egypt also playing, Egypt playing, and Cape Verde as well. Our focus, is on the Black Stars of Ghana. We've watched them play in 3 games in this competition. We've realized they can play both, defending and also playing a bit open, game. Playing against a team like Colombia. What do you think, first and foremost, the approach, the Black Stars should go into these games? And also, what players do you think they should step up this time around? Based on, the 3 games that we've watched and how they've played.
Yeah. I think that going into this game, the Black Stars of Ghana should not look into defending because Colombia is a side that when you try to defend, they can easily hurt you. Yeah. They have the wingers. They have the players who can make this happen. They are very quick, very strong, and they can easily penetrate when you try to defend. So I think going into this game, the Black Stars of Ghana should rather have a game plan that allows them to, have possession of the ball, because they've equally also gotten, they've got some good wingers and some, very quick forward.
Plays.
Exactly. They can hold on to the ball, make things happen with the ball, When you go into this game trying to defend against Colombia, you are going to be hurt.
You see, when you were speaking, I'm still thinking of what you're talking, and I'm like, you want to open up gameplay and play with Colombia.
Yes.
Do you think it's a feasible idea to go into this game with?
Well, it all comes down to the fact that I mentioned, and I always attribute to Morocco. Shout out to Morocco. I think you guys have done really well, and you deserve all the praise that you're getting so far. They don't come into games thinking about their opponent. They come into the ball. They have a game plan,
Exactly.
And like
the game
I said,
plan.
exactly. Colombia, yes, they have a formidable forward, but then if you look at the back line, it's nothing that the Black Stars cannot penetrate through. And this is why I say they should go into this game, play toe-to-toe against Colombia. If you try to defend and Colombia scores you will not concede less than 3 goals.
I think for me, I am having a different opinion to that. And I'm saying that based on how this Colombian team play, and if I say play, they play energetically.
Yeah.
They don't play like the way, sorry to say, the English team play, relaxed on the football. Mm-hmm. They move the ball swiftly from side to side. They have, good wingers.
Etc.
Yeah. They have players who can come from nowhere anywhere and score a goal. Yeah. So for me, I think if defending will be if you say the Black Stars should defend for 90 minutes, it's going to be tiring. Yeah, it's going to be demanding.
Yeah, and boring as well, because when you try to defend, you would not even have the mentality of scoring.
Yeah,
which is exactly what we saw against England.
Yeah,
it happened. Yes, you may be lucky to defend well, not concede a goal. But what happens afterwards?
Yeah, but even against the English, against England, we had opportunities to score. So
that's what I'm saying. When you start defending, that mentality of scoring sort of vanishes, which is what we saw. They had very good, clear chances that they could have scored, but they failed to score. Why? Yeah. Because their mindset was like, we are defending, we need to defend, we need to get this ball out of our side. And when you defend in a game, you do nothing but invite pressure to yourself, which is something that happens a lot. And I think, like you mentioned, Colombia has a side that is very energetic. They do not get tired easily.
Not at all.
They play according to game plan, but they are equally capable of changing, the way
style
they
of
play exactly when one way does not work for them. Which is the reason why I say that the Black Stars of Ghana should go into this game, open up, play against them. If you score, if you concede a goal, then you adjust your style of play. So, and I think we also have a coach who can make this happen.
Yeah, but I was coming to the point of you mentioning some important coaches like Roberto Martinez and
Carlos
Thomas Tuchel and Brazil, Carlo Ancelotti. Yeah. They make the tweak not just in the change of players, also the style of play.
Yeah. The dynamics of the game, how the game is proceeding.
Exactly. But when you watch the 3 games Ghana has played, I think for me it has been one way. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been a time that you realize that the gameplay has changed, especially against England. We defended for 90 minutes. Yeah. So, like you mentioned, it is important. Yes, you have a game plan. You are going to a game with a game plan, but it is important to also study the dynamics, what is going on the field of play, what changes you can make, and as and when you should make those changes, and not just going with the mentality of going to defend or going to play toe-to-toe with your opponent for the 90 minutes. I think when you are able to make changes as and when it is needed, that is when we see your masterclass or your impact, on the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. You shouldn't just stick to one game plan. Of course, that should be dynamic enough to allow you to make changes as the game proceeds. And like you mentioned, you shouldn't just go in there trying to play toe-to-toe. Of course, same way you cannot go and start the game by defending.
Yeah.
You need to somehow look for ways to hurt your opponent, understand what works and what does not, which will eventually help you adjust your game plan. And I think if the Black Stars of Ghana are able to use the first 30 minutes of the game to, study this, I think they have what it takes to win, to win this game. It's going to be a tough one, but I would predict 2-1 win in favor of the Black Stars.
Yes. Interesting. Yeah, but the other question was about which players do you think they're supposed to step up? Yeah. Or do you think there are some changes Queiroz has to make in relation to this game we are about to play? Do you think there's some players that need to sit on the bench, others that need to start and all that?
I would prefer to go with the squad that we started against England.
Okay.
Because that that squad played very well. They started defending very well.
They had the mentality.
They had the mentality to play. They also have the experience. When you have the likes of Iñaki Williams, Semenyo, you have Ayew. I think it's a good squad. Thomas Partey, yes.
Then Jerome Opoku,
yes.
Adete, at the back.
Yes. With that said, I think if there is anybody who should step up his game, many people have not been very happy with the way Kamaldeen Sulemana
has
plays.
Played, yeah.
Yes. And I think it's understandable. Sometimes we shouldn't just criticize players based on what they did with the ball. We should also observe their off-ball movements.
Very true.
Because sometimes it's not just about moving with the ball. It's also about your
impact
role,
on the
your
team.
impact.
Yeah.
The way you track back to support the left, the fullbacks.
The fullbacks, yeah.
It's also very crucial.
Yeah, but with the issue of Kamaldeen, I think he needs to step up.
Yeah, that because we've seen what he can do, and many people judge him based on this.
Yes,
so I agree that he needs to step up. Same thing with Jordan Ayew.
Yeah.
I don't expect much from Jordan Ayew because of his age. Now he's 33, I believe.
Yeah.
He's not like Jordan Ayew that we used to know him. So yes, I would expect to see better performance from him, but nothing better than what I saw against England from Jordan Ayew in particular. If there's somebody that I would like to see him perform better than he has done so far, then that should be Iñaki Williams. And the problem with Iñaki Williams in particular is that
out of position.
The role that we play him does not fit his style of play. And I think Ghanaians should understand this. Yes, there are
even same with Semenyo.
Good. You see Semenyo play in Manchester City, and you begin to question yourself, what is happening to Semenyo? When it comes to Black Stars, and it's simply because of the way we play, the way the role that we assign to him, which is not helping him at all. So then, yes, I think we should start with the squad that we played against England. And the players should step up. There is one particular player that I will not be very happy to see him start the game, Owusu. I think he had a very horrible ball. Sorry, Owusu, or any family member of Owusu, but I don't think he should be starting any of our games anytime soon. Yirenchi should be there.
Of course,
Sibo. Oh, Sibo. Kwasi Sibo. Sibo hasn't been, I think
himself.
He got the hype. But of course, when you have players who hasn't played on the big stage before and you bring them forth, they have more responsibilities. Unlike years ago when we had, substitutes, we had the likes of Apia, Essien, who were, the face of the Black Stars, and they played at the highest level. Right now, if you talk about Black Stars, you just have few names to mention. Partey is not,
of
the
course
Partey he used it because of age. Right now, it's all about Semenyo. Kudus could have been a big pillar in our team, but unfortunately, injury decided to be his companion, which has ruled him out of this World Cup. And so going into this game, yes, let's start with the squad that we started with when we played against England. And Jordan Sibo, I know they will be starting somehow. They should step up and play a better game. Kamaldeen, if you're also starting, please step up, because we haven't been very happy with the way you play.
Not at all.
We have not been very happy with you, to be honest.
So apart from the Black Stars games, other matches are coming up. We have the current world champions, Argentina. Playing today against
Cape Verde.
And it's going to be a very interesting game because like Bosnia, we know Cape Verde also to be an underdog like Bosnia, but Bosnia was able to get into the round of 32 and was unfortunately knocked out. Same with Cape Verde. They are also in the round of 32 and they are playing against Argentina. Do you think they're going to pull a surprise?
I would love to. I would love to see that surprise. As a Ronaldo fan, I would be happy to see Messi get kicked out of this competition as early as possible. But, let's be honest with ourselves. I don't think that Cabo Verde has what it takes to beat Argentina, especially when we are playing in the World Cup. I don't want to say Messi has got FIFA on his side, but we've seen some questionable decisions going on his side. But the other side, I believe that Argentina,
of course,
yes, of course, they should.
Yeah.
But of course, again, it's football.
It's football,
and anything is possible.
Yeah, capable of happening.
I would not be surprised to maybe see Cabo Verde, hold on to the game
for a very long
60th minute. And if they are able to make it to the penalties, then
of course it's anybody's game.
Yeah, it may be risky for Argentina. Yeah. So very tough for Cabo Verde, but easy for Argentina. And I will predict perhaps 2-0 win for Argentina.
Okay. Egypt is also playing against Australia. Do you think? Like the way we are, cautioning Ghana to step up and also at least be able to add up to Morocco, do you think Egypt would be able to put up a show? Because we also know them to be, in terms of football on the African continent, to be up there. Do you think they'll be able to put up a show against Australia?
The Egyptian king, Mo Salah, he has been very phenomenal over the years.
Yeah.
But given the current squad that they have, I haven't been very impressed with the way they played, especially in the group stages. So I wouldn't expect very much from them. I would, on any day, I would have predicted Egypt to carry the day with ease, with no hesitation. But looking at the kind of game Australia played against the likes of Turkey, they defeated them. Were they defeated by Paraguay? I do not remember, but
not sure of that.
Yes, they were very, they played very well.
Yeah,
you understand. So going into this game, Egypt Paraguay, I don't think that it will be an easy game for
Egypt or Australia.
Yeah, sorry, Egypt Australia.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be any easy for Egypt to carry the day. But of course, as an African, so far we only have one African team, which is Morocco. Thank you, Morocco, for saving us once again.
Yeah.
I think Egypt, when you compare the two teams, I think they can come shoulder to shoulder with Australia. And if the coach is able to he is the mechanic and the architect, if he is able to come out with a better game plan, I wouldn't be surprised to see Egypt carry on the day. But that game in particular, I think will go to the extras, and maybe we have Egypt winning it from there.
For me, yes, I'm a big fan of Mohamed Salah, from Liverpool. But like you mentioned, if you look at how they've played in previous tournaments, even in the African Cup, they haven't been the Egypt we know, just like Ghana. But I think against Australia, I'm expecting them to put up a show.
They should stand a stand. Exactly. They should have a chance to win.
Exactly. They should put up a show. No disrespect to Australia, but I think they should be able to put up a show and have a comfortable win.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have at least 3 African teams make it out of the round of 32. We have Morocco up there. Senegal, unfortunately, disappointed us. Same thing with regards to Ivory Coast. So I expect the Blasters of Ghana, go Ghana to make it. It's going to be a difficult one, but Ghana to defeat Colombia and hopefully
Switzerland.
Egypt.
Egypt, okay.
Yes, Egypt to defeat Australia. And maybe Cabo Verde. Please make me happy, man. If you are able to. I would probably retire from watching this World Cup games if Cabo Verde is able to defeat Argentina. Which, of course, on paper, we all know that it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's only 1 out of 100, chance to happen. So,
so I think with the issue with the World Cup, and if you look at how since the inception of the World Cup, the continent that if you look at it, on the basis of continents, you realize the African continent is more like the third best to the other two. That is Europe and South America. In terms of the performances, where they're able to get to. So it is not as if the African teams don't have what it takes, or we don't have what it takes, or haven't got what it takes. I think what they need to do is probably step up.
And also be confident.
Be confident, yes. Because if after Europe and after South America, we are the third best in terms of performances.
In fact, we can even somehow become the second best. We've got the teams.
Yeah, I'm saying that based on the how the trophies have been won. So I think Europe has 12 and South America has 10.
And I don't think any other
no any other continent.
So,
it is between these two continents. But in terms of performances in quarterfinals,
we've made it to Morocco. Was fourth the other time. Ghana, Senegal, and is it
Cameroon too?
They've made it to the quarterfinals before. So this,
So when you look at this development, it tells you that we have the potential. What we have to do is, man up.
Yeah, man up. Stand up to our opponents and play. Open up the game.
And play football.
Yeah, everything can happen. And we've seen Senegal do it against Belgium, but
lack of mentality.
Exactly. So let's hope for the best for this one.
Okay. So tonight is going to be an interesting as we conclude the round of 32 games. We are looking forward that exciting things are going to happen. Thank you very much for being with us, at Studio ABC, and we wish you, any team that is playing out there, we wish you all the best, and see you next time. Bye bye.